Ramaphosa's reasons for suspending Mchunu as a fallacy that has proven unsuccessful in the past. Khomotso Modise reports.
President Cyril Ramaphosa's argument in the Constitutional Court case against him by the MK party is that it is rational that Police Minister Senzo Mchunu be investigated for the allegations made against him before he makes the decision to fire him. However, the MK party's lawyer, Advocate Dalimpofu, says judging by the lack of prosecution of high-profile politicians implicated in the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, that is a fallacy, as many were rewarded with ministerial positions and seats in Parliament. Mpofu has used Gwede Mandashe as an example.
Despite the tested allegations that were in the Zondo Commission, what did the President do? He has appointed Minister Mandashe as acting Minister of Police now, today, as we speak.
Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Constitutional Court.
Let's stay in the Apex Court. Please call me Inventor Nkosana Makate has suffered a slight setback this morning with the court granting Vodacom leave to appeal a Supreme Court judgment in his favour. The judgment was handed down by Acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga. Makate took the telecommunications giant to court over compensation for the Please Call Me product. While the Supreme Court ruled in Makate's favour last year, the Apex Court has sent that judgment aside and says the matter should return to the appeals court.
Based on these holdings, I conclude that the Supreme Court of Appeal failed to discharge the duty of proper consideration. This failure violates the rule of law and the fair hearing right protected in Section 4 of the Constitution.
Meanwhile, with all these developments taking place in the Constitutional Court, the court is honouring Justice Madlanga in a special ceremony today. Madlanga retires after a total of 17 years on the bench as a judge. 12 of those were spent in the Apex Court. Chief Justice Mandisa Maya says Madlanga will be remembered for his elite judgment.
Justice Madlanga's jurisprudence is a masterclass in legal reasoning, social justice, and constitutional fidelity. His judgments have not only clarified the law, but have actively dismantled systemic injustices, ensuring that the Constitution's promise of dignity, equality, and freedom is realized for all.
We shift our focus to this now. The case against a Johannesburg mother and 3 others accused of forcing a 4-year-old to smoke drugs has been postponed to next week. The delay will allow the 4 accused to obtain legal representation. The group appeared in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today on charges of child abuse as well as attempted murder. They were arrested after a video of one of them took of the incident went viral. Mongezi Koko reports.
It was a brief but tense court appearance. The accused stood quietly in the dock, 2 of them with visible facial bruising, avoiding eye contact with the public gallery. The magistrate ordered that they remain in custody until their next appearance. That's when they're expected to enter pleas or announce if they'll formally seek release on bail. The state has already signalled strong opposition, pointing to the seriousness of the charges. The accused have admitted to giving the child mandrakes, but toxicology tests are still underway to confirm the exact substance. Social workers are monitoring the child's well-being. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court.
With less than 3 months to go until the G20 summit, the DA in Joburg says the city is in no shape to host a global event. For the first time, South Africa will be hosting the G20 summit, which is a gathering of the world's major economies, with Johannesburg selected as the host city. During a media briefing this morning, the DA's provincial leader, Solim Simang, raised the alarm over the state of the city.
Street lights are still a mess. Potholes everywhere. We still have streets that are littered. We still have, streets that have water, fresh water and sewer that is flowing. We still have hijacked buildings. We still have issues of security. And therefore, we're still asking, what is then happening here?
And East Asia is experiencing scorching temperatures, with Japan logging a new high of 41.2 degrees. Authorities in the nation have urged people to take precautions to prevent heat stroke. According to local media, heat-related deaths in South Korea have totaled 13 so far this year, triple the figure during the same period last year. Scientists say human-caused breakdown is supercharging extreme weather across the globe, driving more frequent and more deadly disasters, from heat waves to floods and wildfires. Gold is trading at $3,309.61 an ounce. The rand is at 18.09 to the dollar, 23.96 to the pound, 20.70 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $73.24 a barrel.
Traffic remains heavily backed up in the Germiston area, N3 North. This is approaching the Geldenes interchange due to an earlier accident. Also, bumper to bumper traffic heading in and out of the Joburg CBD. That's on Main Reef Road between Nasrec Road and the M2. Also look out for those faulty traffic lights in Randburg at Malibongo Drive and Mahogany.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 20 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: judgment is expected to be handed down in the legal battle between President Cyril Ramaphosa and former President Jacob Zuma, as well as the MK party in the Constitutional Court.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Your stories,
Your questions.
702 listens. You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app,
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Nine minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. On this Thursday, the 31st of July, another month just going by in the blink of an eye. I'm seeing people that are busy saying, hey, guys, that this July has been the longest year of our lives. So much has been happening, and indeed, a lot has been happening, particularly in our country. But we'll stay tuned to EWN for all the latest and developing and breaking stories. Coming up on the show, I want to find out from all of you, in your history or current scenario of applying for jobs, when you apply for work, do you apply or hold back from applying based on if you meet all of the qualifying criteria or not? Because there's a study that shares how men and women approach what they're going to choose to apply for. And I find it fascinating, and I want to hear your experiences before I tell you all of those stats. Like, are you that spray and pray where you just apply for everything? It doesn't matter whether you qualify or not. Are you somebody who looks at it and says, these two things I definitely don't qualify, so I'm definitely not going to apply? I want to hear from you, and I'll share some information on this finding, and you can see if it resonates with where you are at in your journey of finding employment. And it doesn't have to be something you're going through right now. It can be something you have experienced before as well. Then we are going to, in our Belief Matters feature, talk about what are star signs linked to, why are star signs rather linked to certain personality traits. Those of you that are absolute fans of star signs, this conversation is definitely going to be for you. And we can see, especially there's people who will say, I'm a Scorpio, and we're supposed to all know what that means in relation to their personality. Make sure you tune in for that. We'll be joined by Anne Creel, astrologist and psychic, for that conversation. Then we wrap up with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows. Wendy Nola joins us, and we're going to talk part 2 on why Code 10 license holders are being charged extra by car rental companies. So we'll follow up on that story, and then also open up the lines to you on your consumer related issues. So get in touch with us. Give us a call, 011-883-0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Let's talk about applying for work. And I also want to hear from those of you that are hiring managers, recruitment agents, what are you seeing out there? I'm sure things are getting a lot tougher now with the economy being what it is and the unemployment crisis being what it is in South Africa. But when you apply for work, do you make sure that you qualify for everything they're asking for and then apply? And has that changed over the years where you're like, nobody's calling me for interviews anyway, what do I have to lose? I'm just going to submit. Because let me share with you what the study has said. Because some people, they look at a job and then say, ooh, I'm not 100% qualified. Oh, I'm going to apply anyways. Some people say that because what do I have to lose? And maybe that's helped them get confident and feel capable. Maybe even they didn't qualify for a job, but they got it because they aced the interview. We don't know. And then you get the ones who are like, you know what? I 100% qualify for this, so I definitely will apply. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard about this statistic that women apply for the job when they meet 100% of the job criteria, whereas men will apply when they meet 60% of the criteria. And this study, which was an internal HP study by Harvard Business Review, shares that most women believe that they have to meet every requirement to be considered at all. Like to even be considered, you have to meet every requirement. Now, I hope we can walk out of this conversation with some stories of people who didn't meet every requirement but got the job. With stories of people who can say, you know what, I took a chance and I got it. And maybe your standards have changed. Maybe you used to do 100%, then you did 80 and things got tougher and tougher, and now you're doing 75. In between the many things I have experienced in my career, being the person who is applying for opportunities, have I gone for opportunities I didn't qualify for? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I told myself I'm going to fake it until I make it. There was nothing that qualified me for radio when I was trying to get onto radio. Not a single thing. And by that, I mean like on paper. I didn't have a journalism degree. I had a matric. I had an acting career, some presenting. Or the work that I did was based on scripts. I had not yet exercised the muscle of being a conversationalist. But I guess in my mind, I said it's so far-fetched and probably so impossible, I'm going to go for it anyways. Because what do I have to lose? And the universe worked in my favor and I'm here today. I was talking to Dineo Ranaga the other day on my podcast, and she was saying sometimes you're not qualified, but God can qualify you. And there are those scenarios where God qualifies you. If you've watched the series called Suits, the young man, I can't remember the character's name, he didn't qualify for the job, but he went and took a chance and got it anyways. Because he hadn't written the bar or passed the bar, something along those lines. So are you a chance taker? Are you that person who's like, I am definitely going to try. There's nothing happening anyways. I have nothing to lose. Or are you super calculated where you say, the moment you see it says 3 years experience, 5 years experience, and you're like, I don't even have 1 year of experience, so I'm not going to submit a thing. Are you that person? I think in my many years of hiring, I've always known that there will be people who do not meet the criteria, and maybe it is a sign of the times, men and women, that submit anyways. They submit anyways. People who are overly qualified saying, listen, at this rate, I will come in and be your personal assistant the way things are so tough. You have people who will straight up saying they cover letter, I do not have the experience, I don't have the qualifications, but I have the grit. And I have what it takes and I'm eager to learn. And I have given people a chance that did not have the, in inverted commas, the qualifying criteria that is out on a job post. Because I guess I like to take a chance on people, but also I'm in an industry where maybe paperwork in terms of qualifying degrees, you can get away without having to have those things in the different spaces that I work in. So maybe I can be more flexible, but I can't imagine a hospital, manager saying, so you didn't finish all 7 years of medicine. You didn't do your clinics. Okay, let's give you a chance. We like your personality. Go and do open heart surgery. There's certain professions that you can't, but I want to hear from you. And do you think there is a difference in how men and women approach things? Do you, in your relationship, look at your partner and say, yo, I wish I had the guts to do what he does, which is just go for different opportunities. And he gets it because of the confidence. He's convinced people he can do it and he figures it out when he's there. Or are you that person who's like, yo, Relebogile, my wife, she will not even apply because she only has 4 years experience and not the 5. She's not even willing to take a chance because she does not qualify 100%. 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
18 minutes after 1 o'clock, your calls on 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Do you only apply for a job when you meet 100% of the qualifying criteria, or you just tata my chance? What percentage would you say? And has that changed over the years? Maybe as you've gotten older, you're like, the part about experience does not make sense, so I don't even bother. Or the part about degrees, I don't even bother. I've looked at job posts where they want degrees. And I'm like, I would kill this thing, but I don't have a degree. Do you hold yourself back, or do you confidence and fake your way through it? 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. Looking at some of your WhatsApp messages. One says, based on the people I interview, I can already predict gents apply for everything and women never apply if they miss small things. Wow. And I don't know, is that a positive thing or not? Is it positive that gents apply for everything? And I think this translates to gents' approach to also negotiations of salaries. They will generally ask for more. And as women, we will settle for less. I definitely make sure to only apply to jobs where I meet all the minimum requirements, especially when it comes to experience. What I have noticed is to update the CV to have words that match the description so that the AI can pick it up. I still can't believe we're in that AI era. We on my team are still reading CVs manually. We're not like matching them into AI and say like single out who matches the best. But I look at different things like are there spelling errors? Are there grammatical errors? I don't just look at qualifying criteria. I look at other things. 011 883 0702. We go to the lines. Lebogang from Pretoria. Hi.
Hi, how are you all today?
Good, thanks. And you?
Yes, my challenge is that when I do our CV, do I start by writing what I'm qualified for? Or should we start by reading the requirement of what the job is saying? Then we go back to go and write our CV. Because maybe me, I'm still behind. Because sometimes we normally write our CV based on our qualification and our experience. So when we see the post, then we submit that CV. But now, I think maybe sometimes should we start by reading what does the job requirement say and go back and do the CV, or we start by CV and apply.
So this is my suggestion, Lebogang. I guess you'll have your standard CV, ne? Where you know your experience, you know the job title. Some people have a short version and they have a long version which details, the projects, the highlights of their career or their experience at some place. So now when you're going through job posts, you're obviously going to look at the ones that are already in line with what you do. So what do you do, Lebogang?
Oh, I'm an electrician.
Okay, so you're an electrician. You're not going to just start randomly out of nowhere going to doctor's posts. You're already within your jurisdiction. So then when you see this electrician post that comes out, if you see that the electrician role is specifically speaking to, we're looking for an electrician at an IT company, maybe you'll tweak your CV to highlight your experience in working as an electrician in the IT space and understanding that if power goes down, people can lose information. So you specialize in backup things, but you might not use that CV for something else, which is just a simple managing electricity of a studio. Does that make sense?
Oh, thank you, Asu.
All right, Lebogang, thank you so much. And please listen in. I'm going to ask all of the other listeners to also give their input. I mean, I regularly update my CV, but not in the traditional sense. I have different CVs that show different things, but please do share and guide everybody that is asking about what to do. But from what I hear and interviews I've had is tweak it to highlight what makes you suitable for that specific role from your generic one. It also helps, I guess, the hiring managers see, oh, this person took the time to read up about us, to read up about the business, and this is how they're showing they're going to work for it. Your voice notes on 0727021702.
Relebogile Mabotja here. I do not care what the qualifying criteria is, as long as it's in the fields of study that I went to school for, because I have various qualifications. I apply anyway. But it's gotten to a point now where I'm starting to think, you know what, I'm just going to enter that building, go into that company and start working. They'll hire me while I'm there, because it's tough out here.
I've heard that before, hey? You go to a job interview, just start working. Somebody will just start paying you at some point. But I feel you, it is so tough out there.
Hi, Relebogile Mabotja from Rudeport. In my experience, when it comes to applying, I've always applied where I meet the requirements. Where I don't meet the requirements, I actually don't apply. I also feel like recruiters also pay close attention also to what type of an applier you are. So if you're someone that applies randomly to everything, it just shows that you're someone that does not have direction and might not even stay in an organization for long. So yeah, for me, I always applied only when I've met the requirements.
Relebogile, I hope you're well. Tabam from Benoni. What I've observed, also in position where I have a decision in terms of hiring. People are just, they're just throwing anything and everything. They hope that it sticks, which is understandable considering the current state of unemployment and so forth. Personally, when I'm applying, maybe moving from one company to the other, I don't seriously look for, if I qualify or if I meet the criteria. But if I'm within the company, I'm applying for a higher position, then I'm very careful to ensure that what they're asking for is what I have. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. Talking about this recent study on job applications, I think I've also noticed that you end up with such a high number of people who apply for positions or jobs that they don't qualify for. And I think, in my personal opinion, I've got two reasons for that. Firstly, I think it's just desperation. There are just no jobs. And secondly, I think issues such as cash for jobs, cadre deployment, nepotism, jobs for friends, I think they've given false hope to applicants. That's my opinion. This is Brian in Pretoria. Great show as usual.
It is a very, very tricky and tough time. And maybe a person can say, I only apply for what I qualify for because they have been in a better position than others when it comes to available opportunities to them. Because I can only imagine after a certain number of months of not getting the call back for the things that you thought you're perfect for, you start to look elsewhere and then eventually get to a point where you are applying for anything and everything because you just need to get work. Also, maybe in the hopes that, okay, let me just send my CV because that is the hiring manager. Maybe there's another role in the company. This one is not for me, but maybe there's another one in the company. We go to the lines. Joe in Pretoria. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Relebogile.
Yes.
Look, my experience is the following, that when I see an advert, I read through the advert. I make sure, that I understand what are the qualifications that they need. what is the requirements, and what is the job is about. So then what I then do, I look at my CV and then I write a covering letter, that outlines exactly how I meet the requirements specified in the job, in the job advert. Now that clearly shows that, one, you have read through the advert, and number two, that you are meeting the requirements, of the job that they are specifying. My experience has been that, if you do that, then, you are more likely to be invited for an interview than not.
Okay, so what advice would you give to, people who are listening that are also trying to be like, listen, it's a struggle out here. We're trying to give ourselves the best opportunity to be seen.
Well, as I said, the best opportunity is not just to put your CV in an envelope and send it, or in an email. My experience has been, and I've been in management for many years, is those that actually take the time to write the covering letter, that people take very seriously.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe in Pretoria, for that call. Another message that has come through on the WhatsApp line. The person says, this is Vainan from Florida. I took a job that I didn't have any experience of, worked hard, even holidays. Now it's 4 years later and no one can teach me anything. I was forced because if I didn't force myself, we were going to be out on the street with nothing to eat. And that happens for many people, and good for you for putting yourself out there for something that you're like, I don't have experience here, but I'm going to work extremely hard to make it work. Another one says, I've applied to the same place for the past 3 years and I have 150% of what they require, but did not get the job. That is from E. So the same place for 3 years and you're still not getting the job. Maybe hiring managers can help here. Do you think that that's an issue of the person not fitting into the company culture? Because sometimes it isn't about, your qualifying criteria or your experience. Hiring managers will sometimes look and say, is this person going to fit in this space? Maybe they feel like you're a little bit introverted and the people in the company are very extroverted and out there. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on that one. Afternoon, Relebogile. I will sit this one out because I'm a qualified chance taker. And no, tertiary institutions and work experience will qualify you, not God. Sabelo in Rockville. Listen, you have to be a chance taker. I'm a believer in being a chance taker. I would not have so much of what I have if I were not a chance taker. I don't actually know where I'd be if I weren't a chance taker that put myself forward. Does it mean I was not scared? Of course I was scared of messing up, of not delivering, of being terrible at the job, of that voice in you saying, you knew you couldn't do it. Why? No, guy, where were you going? It happens. It's terrifying. We continue when we come back. It's 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. A very good afternoon. Let's begin in the Constitutional Court, where judgment is expected to be handed down in the legal battle between President Cyril Ramaphosa and former President Jacob Zuma, as well as the MK Party. The court has confirmed it will be delivering its ruling at 2 p.m. today, just a day after hearing arguments from all the parties. The MK Party, its leader Jacob Zuma, and President Cyril Ramaphosa battled it out yesterday in the Court. The party wants the president's decision to suspend Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and appoint an acting police commissioner set aside. We stay in the Court, where Please Call Me Inventor Nkosana Makate says he remains resilient despite a setback in his long-running battle with Vodacom. Justice Mbuyiseni Madlanga had handed down a judgment today which set aside a Supreme Court ruling in Makate's favor and referred the matter back to be heard by a different panel. And a case against a Joburg mom and her three other accused for forcing a 4-year-old to smoke drugs has been postponed to next week. The delay will allow the 4 accused to obtain legal representation. The group appeared in the Joburg Magistrates Court today on charges of child abuse as well as attempted murder. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at the stage, if you are leaving Germiston, Alberton, heading towards Bedford View, we still have bumper-to-bumper traffic N3 northbound. This is between the Geldenhuys interchange and Ilands due to an earlier accident. Also leaving the Joburg CBD, expect some delays on the M2 westbound between the Crown interchange and Main Reef Road. Also in the Melrose Santon area, this is heading towards Midrand. There's slow-moving traffic M1 northbound between Athol, Oaklands and Marlborough Drive, and look out for those faulty traffic lights in Edenville and Modderfontein Road and Van Riebeck. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
You are suggesting that there must be accountability on the part of Hamas, which I agree with. But are we suggesting then that Israel just move on when they have killed innocent children and women in Gaza, thousands of them?
Well, right now the question is how do we put a stop to the situation? And yes, of course, in an ideal world, we would love to see accountability. But right now, we have to make the humanitarian situation change on the ground.
You agree, though, that there must be accountability. Israel must be held accountable for having conducted
a political solution first. The decision by all these countries that I mentioned is about a political solution.
And what if Israel doesn't even agree with that?
I have never said that it would be an easy path.
Ambassador David Martino.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the heart and art of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th of September, Umo Sangare, Jasmine Horn, Selent Nko and the Noisemakers as well. And over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Centre. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
So we did a thing, a full commitment kind of thing. We've partnered with Sixt to bring Worldwide to your doorstep. So you see how that's a serious thing, because that's what you deserve. We know you're the GOAT, so premium it is. Premium service, premium vehicles, premium you, premium us. Sani Sixt is all about adding extra to ordinary. Extra reach, extra countries, so you can be extra premium worldwide. Be the greatest of all time and rent Sani Sixt.
You and your 2 besties have been belting out the same song since you were 6 years old.
Don't you feel like a cry?
30 years later, and that song will be sung live in New York City.
Don't you feel like crying?
Imagine.
Don't you feel like a cry, crying?
Now imagine buying 3 Golden Circle tickets to the show. Ladies, we ride a door.
Oh, yeah.
Invest early. You'll be so happy you did. Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is a registered FSP.
702 and Corporates That Care with Butter are talking about Butter Children's Program.
We've run school donations, volunteer days. We have about 82 people in our head office in KZN. They frequently go down to the Malvern Children's Home. The Malvern Children's Home is a home for orphans that we've adopted basically in the KZN region. We've assisted them with jungle gyms, water tanks, stationary libraries. We've built a library for them, as mentioned. Unfortunately, the Malvern Children's Home has a R1 million debt, water and electricity debt.
Sure.
So we've created a GoFundMe page, and a portion of the proceeds from our Mandela Day shoe sales will go towards this cause. So when corporates choose Toughies for their Mandela Day giving, they're not just buying the school shoes, they're helping children keep their home running.
From jungle gyms to school supplies and life-changing donations, Butter is building brighter futures. Visit butter.co.za to learn more. 702, let's walk the talk.
702 afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock. And we take your calls as we have a conversation around applying for jobs that you do not qualify for, or that you only apply for jobs that you qualify for 100%. The study that was done by Harvard Business Review, an internal HP study, shared that women apply for the job when they meet 100% of the job criteria and men 60% of the criteria, because as they say, most women believe that they had to meet every requirement to be considered at all. Now, is that the case? And how have things changed in this economy where things are getting tougher and tougher? 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. We go to the lines. Paul in Johannesburg. Hi, Paul.
Yeah, hi. I have a different take on it. I'm old school. I started working in 83, 84 odd. But the difference here that I phoned in a Mongani show, but my message was too long, so I'm going to keep it short. I believe that the criteria would easily be accessible to a bunch of young students, varsity leavers, if the seaters of South Africa decided to start programs with big corporates. I know there's one with Discovery. I don't want to give them a plug. They do take on internships, and I think internships are critical. We've got a very critical labor law that allows us to employ people, but not to, let's say, let them go, as opposed to firing if they don't meet the company corporate ethos and the likes of. But an internship would allow a student to come along. It gives the business an opportunity to evaluate that student without being tied down to our labor law. Sorry, you didn't make the cut. Well, I don't think I do, and I take it to the CCMA. Once they've got this criteria, once they've got this internship done, there's a period of time, with it 1 or 2 years, like the lawyers do. They do their lead for 2 years. It doesn't mean that the legal company needs to hire them after the fact. They've given them the experience. They've got something to write down on their CV, and they can move forward. Internships, I think, are critical, and we don't have any in South Africa. And if we did, all these school leavers would get an opportunity to put something on their CV, which would then give them something to apply with. So that's my situation. I was fortunate. I walked out of the army into a position that was organized by a friend of a friend of a friend. That doesn't work that anyway. We've all got to meet criteria, and you've got to be qualified. But without, the first question is, do you have experience? No, I don't. Well, I'm not too sure we can hire you.
Yeah.
So an internship, I believe, is critical in South Africa. It would make the seaters all work. It would get opportunities for companies to employ people within the current labor law. And at the end of the year period, let's say it's a year internship, they've got something on their CV. If this individual has met the ethos and the working methodology of a company, then immediately they can move over to a fixed employed contract. But it gives both parties, the intern, an opportunity to say, is this what I want to do? Or the company to say, this is a great person, he works well with us, we want to hire him. It just works both ways, for my feeling anyway. So that's my input for your show today.
Thank you so much, Paul in Johannesburg, sharing about internships, and maybe that can assist with the intense requirements. We go to Stalin from Johannesburg. Hi, Stalin.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
Lovely. Very interesting topic. I wanted to shed some good afternoon to you and your listeners, firstly. So from an employer's perspective, I actually had the opportunity to be in West Africa for about 7 years. When I sort of first got there, I was tasked with setting up these very technologically advanced automotive repair centers, both in body shops and in mechanical. And initially, when I looked for personnel who could sort of operate these machines and equipment and so forth, obviously there was actually none, because the skills just were not there. So then what I opted to do was I actually brought in like individuals literally off the street. And initially I started with a batch of 20. And for the first 2 weeks, all I had the guys do was actually just clean these workshop areas. And they had to come in every day and just clean. And after like 5 days, 7 guys were like, this guy must be crazy, and they left. But the long story short, the guys who actually stayed, it wasn't for me about who could clean. It was about the attitude, who actually wanted to learn, who was actually wanting this job bad enough. And after 7 years of leaving Nigeria, I had individuals, let's call it, who sort of trained under me from that initial batch and batches that came afterwards, who actually went on to work in Abu Dhabi, Qatar, Dubai, and even Mogadishu, Somalia as qualified artisans. And currently in my current business, I have a business that is actually quite a unique concept. It doesn't exist on the continent. So everybody I've got to employ obviously doesn't come with the skill set required, but all I look for is attitude once again. With the right attitude, and the person has that will to, I want to learn, I want to get somewhere, an opportunity is given by me. And the guys with the right attitude actually excel.
Oh, and I think it's such a great thing that you're sharing about the right attitude. So what would you advise to the person listening to the show right now that feels stuck?
Okay, so ignore the criteria that's put down. Get yourself into an interview and actually sell yourself. What we got to understand is when you start talking to, let's say, a person who's interviewing you, I mean, there's people who come to me who I'm thinking, let me not even do the interview. And then I'm quite surprised at so much sort of like a knowledge base. They take on certain things, the angle and the depth of, how much they want to learn. Okay, and another interesting point, okay, for me, maybe I'm being a bit biased sometimes, but I always ask, okay, what's your mathematics looking like? Okay, because I'm looking for logic, a certain train of logic. So sometimes I hit it on, I get the mathematics guy or girl who's actually quite logical, has a very clear way of thinking and problem solving, So I think it's about perseverance. You got to I have people who actually walk into my spaces and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. They drop a CV. I'm not even hiring, and yet I actually take them on. You see a young person who actually has a will that wants to go somewhere, and they understand the situation in the country. I just hope that more sort of employers would have the sort of same perception of what we need to actually invest in the youngsters, the ones that actually leave school, because you don't know, there's diamonds in all this, There's diamonds in all this roughness,
and of course also the part of just being open to more than just criteria. There are
100%.
gems that don't fit whatever the box or the mold looks like that could be an amazing asset to you and the business. And when you really want someone, you'll even create a role for them. Thank you so much, Stalin. Let's go to Sammy in Centurion. Hi.
Good day, Relebogile. Relebogile, now my experience, especially for jobs that don't require formal education, I just look at what it is that they're looking for. Am I able to do these things? Then I apply for the job. Then I, customize my CV in a way that it suits what they are looking for. If they don't want formal qualification, for example, say like maybe if your online certificate is okay, then you apply. Because if you're going to stress yourself about where they say maybe, for example, we want a dispatch supervisor and we want a diploma in supply chain and you've got a certificate in supply chain, then you're losing out. Just look at what it is that they're looking for. Are you able to do this? Even if you haven't done it before, but do you have knowledge with what they're looking for? Say maybe if they're looking for someone who's got knowledge in SAP, it's a software system. Do you know it? Then you apply. Because if you're going to say, no, I don't qualify for this because I don't have formal qualification, or I haven't worked, have hands-on experience with this thing, you're going to shut yourself out. And looking at our country's economy, which is performing poorly, you're going to spend the rest of the year not having a job. As festive season, people are drinking beers there. They are having nice price there with their family and stuff. You're going to get depressed. So just look at, are you able to do these things? Even if you don't have, for example, hands-on experience with it, just apply. Because I remember in 2016, they were looking for a sales coordinator. I won't mention the company. But I only had experience as a merchandiser. It's a low-level position. Sales coordinator is a mid-level position. I've never done the job before, but I've seen people do it, and I apply and I qualified. So just look at, are you able to do the job, then you apply. Then you'll be fine.
I hear you, and thank you for sharing that, Sammy. It can be extremely depressing, I'm sure, for the many people that are sitting at home waiting for opportunities, feeling it's taking its toll on their self-worth and their confidence and so many other things. Let's go to Anne in Rudaport. Hi, Anne.
Hi, Relebogile. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes.
I work in the space where we do STEM education for learners and for students. And I know of a place where, a site where you can register as a job seeker, and they have funding to provide an employer with a stipend if the employer employs you. So you go to Jobify, which is the name of the site. It's spelled Jobfia, Jobify with IY, and then you register as a job seeker, you put your CV on, and if an employer employs you. Jobify has, as an MPO, has funding to pay your stipend every month. So basically the employer gets you for free. But you have to take that step. You have to take that step. You have to go out there. There are more than one of those sites. The only one that I can think of in the car is Jobify. But we, for example, take a student or a learner, well, students mainly, or young graduates or job seekers for data capture, for example. But what it does is it gives you experience, gets you to experience what does working in a company mean. You've got to be there on time. There's lunch times. This is how leave applications work. This is how communication in organizations work. It just gives the job seeker a much more rounded approach to what it means when you actually start working formally.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Anne and Redeport, sharing on Jobify. Learners, students, job seekers, you can go and register to become interns, your WhatsApp messages. I'm a medical student at WITS. I always volunteer in hospitals and clinics. Volunteering helps also when it comes to experience. Add to the years that you have. Another one says this might be unrelated to the question itself, but I've always found it interesting that I've never actually landed a job through an agency, despite all the effort that they require. That said, the process did teach me how to effectively package my profile, and I've built valuable relationships with some of them over time, which has been useful for checking in and staying on the radar. Interestingly, I found it easier to secure roles at C-suite level than I did during my middle management years. I think my MBA, coupled with grit, confidence, and the solid groundwork I laid in those earlier roles, has started to speak for itself. That is from Pearl. Another one, Relebogile, I hope you're well. I am an HR by qualifications with some experience. 2 years ago, exactly today, I got into project management without any qualification nor experience, and I'm doing well. I'm currently looking for a job, and here I am applying for executive positions within both the HR and PMO space. As I type, I just applied for 2 posts at Chief Human Resources Officer. I don't even look at the qualifying criteria when applying. I just apply. I am on Mudimu Uteng journey, as in God is with me journey. If it's meant for me, it will be for me. I'm 28-year-old female. That is Kagiso here. Thank you so much for all of your messages, folks. And I would say I'm on the side of Tata Machans. You just never know.
This past Sunday, Joburg walked the talk together. Thousands stepped up, stepped out, and stepped forward. And none of it would have been possible without the incredible partners who walked this journey with us.
As Polar Ice Cream, we were indeed very excited to see just how people engage together. We partnered with 702 because our philosophy aligned with what 702 is doing, engaging with community. We also want to walk the talk when it comes to making sure we provide good value for money products to all our consumers. We will definitely be back next year. There's no doubt about that. We're really excited. For us, it's always about a long-term engagement.
A heartfelt thank you to every sponsor who made this year's 702 Walk the Talk possible. You powered the spirit of a city walking as one. The 702 Walk the Talk was hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
Dear Journal, day 4602 of trying to be an adult. My doctor asked me how my quality of rest is at the moment. I told him I have 2 problems. I struggle to sleep at night, but I also struggle to awake at day.
Aggressively realizing your age and get covered at pineapple.co.za. It's simple and like 19 Rand a day, so it's 100% the insurance for you. Underwritten by Old Mutual Alternative Risk Transfer Insurer Limited, licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP. Premiums are risk profile dependent.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah, it started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Bro, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
Basketball fans, you're invited to step onto the court. Dribble, pass, and shoot to unbelievable rewards with Hollywood Bets. Do you have what it takes to beat the buzzer, bury the shot, and clinch the victory? Get your head in the game and dive into a broad selection of action-packed basketball tournaments and fixtures that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Your slam dunk moment could be just a hoop away. Bet now. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bet supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
702
Belief matters.
Exploring culture, traditions, religion,
and the beliefs that shape our world.
8 minutes to 2 o'clock in our Belief Matters feature for today. We talk about star signs and how they link to certain personality traits and why they do so. Let us know on the WhatsApp line what your star sign is and what are those personality traits that you assign to the fact that you're a Scorpio or a Cancer or a Leo. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 and 702. We are joined by Anne Creel, who is an astrologist and a psychic. And welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Lebu.
How are you
Thank you
doing?
for having me.
Thank you so
Well,
much
and
for
you?
joining us. Thank you. And let's kick off. I know there's certain star signs that have a very bad reputation, that even when they are memes, they'll say things like, no, you're not a Scorpio, you're just a horrible person. At what point does one assign personality traits to their star sign versus it just being inherently who they are? And maybe it's what you got from your dad or your mother.
Yes, that is where psychological assessment comes in. And I can tell you a lot about it, but there's a basic one called the 16 Personality Factor Questionnaire, which looks at your personality traits. So that is obviously the right way to go, because astrology is questionable because of the fact that the star signs as we know them are not the proper placements in the sky. But for that reason, I study sidereal astrology, which is in alignment with NASA. But obviously people have made a study of this. They've researched this for ages. You know, it comes from the East, from all over, many years ago, more than 5,000 years, of knowledge that are and you can get the Eastern astrology and the Western astrology. You can combine it. The one that I do is the Eastern astrology and the Vedic astrology. But I know I obviously first came into contact with the normal astrology that people go to. And the reason why people identify, all of us want an identity. I want to be known as Anne Creel. By the way, you can contact me on 079-806-0700 for a personal consultation. And the thing is, as a child, we want to identify with something. We identify with our family, with our culture, with your name, with your surname, your age, and it's very easy to say, I am a Sagittarius or I'm a Scorpio. That's another way of identifying yourself with something. So it's a way for us to know ourselves, because Socrates said, if you know yourself, that is the beginning of wisdom. And we all have this, we're all spiritual beings. And when we get here, we need this feeling of belonging, So we want to belong to a family, to a group, to you want that feeling of belonging. And to add to your identity, then obviously people will say, I'm a Sagittarius, I'm a Scorpio, I'm an Aquarius, and be very proud of the characteristic traits that they take from there that they like for themselves.
So if there are parts of you that are not so savory, and let's say they are not directly assigned to you as a person, but you want to break out of it. You no longer want to be, well, I'm a Virgo, therefore, what would you advise that person do? And does it mean going the route of astrology and to how do I say, realign to be a different version of yourself or a better version of yourself? Or is it something that needs to go through a psychology route?
It obviously always depends on the amount of money you have to spend,
Of course.
Yeah. So astrology, if you go to somebody like myself, that have researched this for longer than what I've studied psychology, or schooling of any kind, then, this person can help you. But it's such a vast field, astrology, that somebody really has to look at your chart, because actually all the star signs play a role in your personality. It depends on which house it's in. The first house, the second house, the third house. And like, for instance, the last house is the 12th house, and that is your hidden part of your character that you need to explore, and also where certain planets lie. Now, it would be correct to say, for instance, I'm a Virgo, because normally Mercury and the Sun lie very close together, and so does Venus and Mars. So they will all more or less be there. So the character traits will be more or less correct. But like I say, people will take what they like from that star sign, and then say, I'm a Virgo, I'm hardworking, I'm reliable, and then somebody else will say, you're a Virgo, you're pedantic, you're too nitpicky, you're scared of germs, like Michael Jackson wearing gloves and a mask when it wasn't COVID, that sort of thing. So that's when people will say negative things of you, because they'll use the negative side of the star sign or the positive side. Obviously, everybody has got self-serving bias, so when you proudly say you're a Scorpio, you say, don't mess with me, I'm a Scorpio.
Yes.
I will sting you.
Or in the case of me, like, I'm a Virgo, I'm a perfectionist, and I'm all of these things. But I'm so glad you're able to share with us, because we are, at the end of the day, much bigger than our star signs. And Creel, thank you so much for your time.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
President Cyril Ramaphosa's argument in the Constitutional Court case against him by the MK party is that it is rational that Police Minister Senzo Mchunu be investigated for the allegations made against him before he makes the decision to fire him. However, the MK party's lawyer, Advocate Dalimpofu, says judging by the lack of prosecution of high-profile politicians implicated in the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, that is a fallacy, as many were rewarded with ministerial positions and seats in Parliament.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
At the heart of global conversations shaping the future, Africa's voice matters more than ever. As Africa's largest bank by assets and lead sponsor of the B20 summit, Standard Bank Group is proud to spotlight the continent's growth partnerships and potential on the world stage. Through informed dialogue and powerful partnerships, Standard Bank is driving sustainable growth where it matters most. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Imagine 30% off everything for your garden this week only at Stodell's Garden Centres. This special offer is just for Stodell's Garden Club members. Not a Stodell's Garden Club member yet? Simply sign up at Bryanston, Ferndale or Menlo Park and start saving right away. No waiting, no catch. Drop in and see why there's such a buzz about Stodell's. Hurry, offer ends 3rd August. Stodell's Garden Centres. Create happiness.
So we did a thing. A full commitment kind of thing. We've partnered with Sixt to bring Worldwide to your doorstep. So, you see how that's a serious thing. Because that's what you deserve. We know you're the GOAT. So, premium it is. Premium service, premium vehicles, premium you, premium us. Sani Sixt is all about adding extra to ordinary. Extra reach, extra countries, so you can be extra premium worldwide. Be the greatest of all time and rent Sani Sixt.
To every 702 lander who laced up, showed up and walked the talk with us this past Sunday, thank you. The 702 family loved every moment, walking, talking and connecting with you on the route. You made the 2025 702 Walk the Talk one for the books, and we can't wait to do it all again with you next year. Here's to you, 702 landers, and here's to the 2025 702 Walk the Talk hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. In the next hour of the show, we have Wendy Nola with us for Nola Knows.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Let's begin in the Constitutional Court, where judgment is expected to be handed down in the legal battle between President Cyril Ramaphosa and former President Jacob Zuma, as well as his MK party. The court has confirmed it will be delivering its ruling at this hour, just a day after hearing arguments from all parties. The MK party, its leaders Zuma and Ramaphosa, battled it out yesterday in the Constitutional Court. The party wants the president's decision to suspend Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and appoint an acting police minister set aside. During proceedings yesterday, lawyers for Zuma dismissed Ramaphosa's reasons for suspending Mchunu as a fallacy, which has proven unsuccessful in the past. They are also challenging the Judicial Commission of Inquiry, which was established following allegations made by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Let's stay in the Apex Court. Please call me inventor. Nkosana Makate says he remains resilient despite a setback in his long-running battle with Vodacom. Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga handed down a judgment today which set aside a Supreme Court ruling in Makate's favor and referred the matter back to be heard by a different panel. After nearly 20 years of legal battles, Makate is demanding compensation from Vodacom for the Please Call Me product, with the company offering 47 million rand, while he maintains he is entitled to billions. Khomotso Modise reports.
Acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga handed down a scathing judgment against the Supreme Court, ruling that it made several errors in its ruling that ultimately favored Nkosana Makate. The Constitutional Court has referred the matter back to the Supreme Court, but orders that it be heard before a different panel. However, Makate believes the Apex Court could have come to a conclusive finding.
I mean, we still had a hearing at the High Court, which they could have gone to as well. And then ignored the SA completely. I mean, they are at large to do that, and they could have done that, yeah.
He says he's ready to head back to the Supreme Court in line with Madlanga's judgment.
Well, I'm still resilient. I mean, I'll forever be. We'll go to the SCA, and the SCA must just relook at the case and then provide us with the judgment that will then stand the test.
Makate says he remains confident that he'll be able to convince the SCA to award him billions for his brainchild, the Please Call Me product. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Constitutional Court.
In other court matters now, the case against a Johannesburg mother and 3 others accused of forcing a 4-year-old to smoke drugs has been postponed to next week. The delay will allow the 4 accused to obtain legal representation. The group appeared in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today, facing charges of child abuse as well as attempted murder. They were arrested after a video that one of them took of that incident went viral. Mongezi Koko reports.
It was a brief but tense court appearance. The accused stood quietly in the dock, 2 of them with visible facial bruising, avoiding eye contact with the public gallery. The magistrate ordered that they remain in custody until their next appearance. That's when they're expected to enter pleas or announce if they'll formally seek release on bail. The state has already signalled strong opposition, pointing to the seriousness of the charges. The accused have admitted to giving the child mandrakes, but toxicology tests are still underway to confirm the exact substance. Social workers are monitoring the child's well-being. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News at the Johannesburg Magistrates Court.
To this now, some economists and industry leaders have called on the Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee to make a bold cut in repo rates. Governor Lesija Kganyago is set to announce the latest decision on the repo rate today. The MPC deliberated on rates during its bi-monthly meeting this week, with the announcement set for 3 p.m. In its previous meeting in May, the committee cut the repo rate down to the current rate of 7.25%, bringing the prime lending rate to 10.75%. Nugukanya Mdambo has the details.
Industry leaders in the property sector say the central bank's overly cautious stance has meant that it missed at least 2 prior opportunities to cut the rate earlier and to provide a more meaningful economic boost. Chairman of the Seif Property Group, Samuel Seif, says while the 4 rate cuts since mid-2024 have provided welcome relief to consumers, homeowners and property buyers, it's had little overall impact on the economy and the property market. Seif says the slow rate cutting cycle is particularly glaring given the robust economic fundamentals over recent months, with tamer inflation and a stable rand against the dollar. He says the delays in cutting the rate, despite the favourable conditions, have been detrimental to economic growth and job creation, calling for at least another 25 basis point cut today. Nogukanya Mdambo, Eyewitness News.
And East Asia is experiencing scorching temperatures, with Japan logging a new high of 41.2 degrees, while South Korea marked a record streak of 22. Authorities in the two nations have urged people to take precautions to prevent heat stroke. According to local media, heat-related deaths in South Korea totaled 13 so far this year, triple the figure during the same period last year. Scientists say that human-caused breakdown is supercharging extreme weather across the globe, driving more frequent and more deadly disasters, from heat waves to floods and wildfires. Gold is trading at $3,309.61 an ounce. The rand is at 18.09 to the dollar, 23.94 to the pound, 20.71 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $73.24 a barrel.
In Edenville, bumper-to-bumper traffic heading into Bedford View. That's on the R24 westbound between Edenville Road and the Giluli's interchange. Leaving the Joburg CBD, traffic remains sluggish on the M2 westbound between the Crown interchange and Main Reef Road, and travelling through Sandton heading towards Midrand. There's slow-moving traffic. M1 northbound between Athol Oakland and Greyston Drive.
It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 20 and 21 degrees. The top story in EWN: judgment is expected to be handed down in the legal battle between President Cyril Ramaphosa, former President Jacob Zuma, as well as the MK party.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Your voice.
Your station, 702.
We are listening to you. You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide.
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7.
And 106 FM.
Nine minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 702 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. And we are jumping into what we do on a Thursday, chatting to Wendy Nola in our Consumer Rights feature, Nola Knows. So get in touch with us. Give us a call, 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons. And the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702.
Nola Knows.
Nola Knows time with Wendy Nola on 702 afternoons. We take your calls and your comments and questions on 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Happy Thursday, Wendy. How are you doing?
Great, Relebogile. Great to have you back too.
Thank you so much. Now, I know the story we are picking up with is something that had started last week. Can we kick off with, my apologies, that is me busy ringing in the studio on my laptop. Can you please kick us off with a little bit of a recap, and then we sort of build to where we are now?
Okay, so as you said, this is a follow-up show to last week's one. About a certain car hire company, Europe Car, imposing a R100 per day surcharge on customers who have a code 10, essentially a truck driver's license, also known as a C1, as opposed to a code B, which is for a light motor vehicle, also known as a passenger car. So there have been some new developments and some interesting revelations around the statistical, and I stress statistical, doesn't mean this applies to everybody with a code 10, the statistical risks posed by code 10 licensed drivers when they are behind the wheel of these, let's call them normal cars. So Linda Elwa of Midrand chose to rent a car earlier this month from Europe Car when she visited Cape Town, because as a Discovery Vitality member, she qualifies for a 25% discount. So she rented the car for 8 days, incident-free, all good, but then she returned it, the car that is, and then 2 days later she received a statement from Europcar revealing that she was charged what was termed a C1 license surcharge of 100 Rand a day, which in her case added up to a quite considerable 800 Rand, which pretty much cancelled out her discount that she got as a Vitality member. And when she asked the company about that, she was told verbatim, as a business, we've seen a significant increase in the number of accidents as well as the severity of these accidents in the last 12 months. This is posing an unacceptable risk to the safety of our customers, other road users, as well as to the vehicle rented out in good faith. An internal analysis identified that C1 or Code 10 driver's license holders contribute a significantly higher percentage of both accident and write-off. So while they only represent 20% of their customer base, they contribute to more than 40% of the accidents and write-offs of their cars. And so she was told this statistic speaks for itself, and so we're charging this surcharge to mitigate the risk. So Lindelwa says I asked her about this because I've heard things over the years about people having no intention of ever driving a truck, but taking the Code 10 because it's easier, right? But I've never really paid too much attention to that story. So I asked Delwa why she chose to do the Code 10 instead of Code B. And she said she was 20 at the time. So it's more than 20 years ago. She was given poor guidance, part of which was it'll increase your employment opportunities because you might be required to have this license in a particular job that you may want to apply for. She's never driven trucks, and she felt that this surcharge was unfair for many reasons, but mainly because she said she was not made aware of the fee up front. So of course I did what I do. I went to Europcar's CEO, Martin Little, who repeated what Lindelwa had been told about the reason they have this surcharge. And he said, so rather than stopping drivers from using us because they have a C1 or Code 10 license, we decided to implement this surcharge, and we do our best to make this clear and transparent. But he says we don't know what license a renter has at quoting stage. So Lindelwa would have got a quote that didn't include the surcharge. So I'm thinking, well, you can remedy that by asking the question when someone's asking for a quote, ask them to supply, the category of license they have, and then make the quote according to that. At that point, reveal the surcharge. Anyway, Little said, at checkout, we scan the license, and if it's a C1 or Code 10, the rental agreement is updated, and the 100 Rand per day surcharge applies. And then when the renter signs that, they're confirming it. So he sent me a copy of Lindelwa's signed agreement, which shows that you have to choose the various waivers, standard or super, etc. And her attention was very much drawn to her choices, and she was made to initial them. That's what companies do when they want to prove that they very overtly and specifically brought the customer's attention to something, and they signed agreement to it, right? But the surcharge is revealed in small print sort of under all of that, with other things like airport fee and a tourism levy and whatever, and it certainly doesn't stand out. And Lindelwa says it was never a point of discussion. She was asked for her license, which is normal. She handed the license over, and that was it. So and I'm saying, in the interest of transparency, 100 Rand a day is material. As the license is handed over, the agent should be trained to say, oh, I see you've got a Code 10. Please know that this is going to attract a surcharge of 100 Rand a day. Ideally, that should happen at quote stage, as I said, as soon as you should be asked for your license type and then told. Anyway, so so that was that. She paid her 800 Rand. We did a show saying this is something you should know about. And my attention was brought by Europcar to, this is how we disclose it in our terms and conditions, which I don't think is enough anyway, because people generally don't go onto the website and read pages and pages of fine print, but it says this in Europcar's agreement. A Code 10 or C1 license holder will only be allowed to rent a vehicle for which a Code 8 license is required if the client has basically held that Code 10 for at least 5 years. Europcar may, however, waive the 5-year requirement in its sole discretion, subject to the payment of an additional daily surcharge. And then only after the show, Relebogile, did the penny drop. Lindelwa got her Code 10 more than 20 years ago, far more than 5 years ago. So by Europcar's own policy, she shouldn't have been charged that 100 rand a day at all. And that was something that Little didn't say to me in his response. So I went back to him to say what I've just said now. Will you be willing to refund? And I got a very short and sweet answer to say, we will process the credit for the surcharge on this rental. So that's at least an outcome. Lindell was going to get her 800 rand back. Do we have her waiting to join us?
We don't have her at the moment. Unfortunately, we're struggling to get a hold of her.
Not to worry.
Yes, but I think that is fantastic that one might look at the amount and think, wow, it's 100 rand per day. Is it that deep? But it's the principle, Wendy.
I think, yeah, and I think I went to Discovery about this, and they said they weren't aware of it, Discovery Vitality, but that, the rangers would still have a 25% discount, and it would, in many cases, override, still be cheaper, even with the surcharge. And I said, yeah, I agree. I think the reason why, I think a lot of people have been paying this and not realizing, because 8 days is probably longer than normal. So in Lindelwa's case, she noticed it because it was 800 rand. But if you're hiring for a weekend or a day, you might not notice it. There's a lot of charges and fees and things that go into a rental agreement. And, there's a lot of information to process, and it's easy to miss. But I did also go to Savrala, the South African Vehicle Rental and Leasing Association, about this practice to say, do you know about it? Is it widespread in the industry? And they said, we do not currently recognize this as an industry-wide practice. So it would seem that Europcar is the only one that's doing this. But then I started thinking after the show, if it's a thing, if this is Europcar's experience, and they say they've got the statistics to back this up, then what's happening in the insurance industry? Is your premium increased, because if you have a Code 10 license, whether you know that this is a factor or not? And I also came across this very weird thing, which I mentioned on air last week, and I feel I need to correct it. So in my desktop research, it threw up several mentions of the fact that in February of 2011, the 1st of February, the Road Traffic Act was amended to make it illegal for the holder of a Code 10 license to drive a normal motor vehicle, also known as a passenger car. So I'm like, but then surely rental companies shouldn't rent out their normal cars to Code 10 license holders at all. Are people being stopped in roadblocks, if they got this license before 2011 and told you this is now illegal? Why have I not heard anything about this? And it turns out and this is why, sometimes your little Google can lead you down the wrong path. What happened was, and why there are conflicting reports on, if you Google this, is that, and this is thanks to Alta Swanepoel, by the way, who is the absolute fundi on such things. She was part of the team that drafted the regulations to the Road Traffic Acts in 1989 and 1996, and she was a full-time consultant to the Department of Transport until about 25 years ago, when she founded Alta Swanepoel and Associates, which specialize in the field of road traffic and transport legislation. And they actually do refresher sessions to traffic officials and the transport industry. So she is the person to go to. And she explained something I'd never heard of this. There was a 2010 amendment removing authorization to drive a normal car with a Code 10 license. It was published, it was signed into law, and then on the very day it was supposed to come into effect, the 1st of February 2011, it was again amended. Someone had a second thought on this. It was again amended to reinstate the law as it was before that amendment. So nothing changed. You can still legally drive a passenger car with a Code 10 C1 license. But here's the thing, Relebogile. here's the thing, that these are the tests and maneuvers that you don't do when you do a truck license as opposed to a code B for a passenger car. You don't do parallel parking in the test. You don't do a 3.2, and you don't do alley docking on both sides, just the one side. You don't do the tricky handbrake pull-off on a hill on the test, because trucks are too long to do most of those things. Those are the very things which most people fail during their Code B license. And so a lot of people got wind of this and decided to do the truck license instead of the car license, even though they had no intention of driving a truck, because they had a better chance of passing the driver's test. And they could drive a little car with a truck license, right? So Alta told me how interesting it is. I've had calls from insurance companies on this issue because they say the Code 10 drivers cause the most accidents. They actually want my help in trying to amend the law again to disallow Code 10 drivers from driving Code B vehicles. Yeah, I mean, so it's clearly a thing. So, and then listening to the show last week was Eugene Herbert, who is CEO of Master Drive, a company which does professional driver training, right? And I said, well, what are your thoughts? What are you seeing through your work? And he says, our observations from a training perspective he says, companies are seeking to grow their drivers, empower them. So we get drivers on board for the defensive driver training, or they want to employ a driver, just Code 8. So we do a pre-employment assessments. He says, statistically, we found a significant number of Code 10 license holders who come for our training fail the standard, in which case we recommend that they get remedial training or that they do the K53 training again. One of the exercises they have to do to demonstrate capability is reversing into a parking bay. That's the alley docking. Many fail because they have driven a C-class vehicle, which is the cab up front. Their spatial awareness is not up to scratch when driving a passenger vehicle. Further red flags, and this is another can of worms, further red flags appear if their license was issued in the Eastern Cape. So there you have it. I learned a lot about this issue. I also went to the country's biggest short-term insurer, which is Santam, to say, is this a risk? Do you load the premiums of people who have a Code 10 license when they're wanting to insure a normal passenger car? And the answer was a bit vague rather, just to say that there are a lot of factors that influence the premium in terms of, based on the risk, and license type is one of them. So if you've got a Code 10 and you licensed and you insured your car, it might be that you didn't even know, but a little bit extra was built into your premium because you are perceived as higher risk when driving a passenger car. So there you have it.
I'm so glad you're sharing this, because I do recall when I was getting my driver's license, so many people who would say, just get the Code 10, it's easier. Yeah. But never did I imagine that the implications would be what we're talking about now. And on the one hand, I completely understand where they're all coming from, because if there's certain things you haven't had to do or practice or learn, but one then could answer, but then wouldn't years of experience in your normal Code 8 count for something?
You would think so. And certainly Europcar's own policy says if you've not had your license for at least 5 years, then, we will impose a surcharge. So I think there should be a recognition that driving the car for a number of years becomes its own test in itself, and you should develop proficiency, but to overcome your shortcomings that you might have had at the beginning. But statistically, apparently, this is not the case. That a certain unnamed insurance companies who had consulted with Alta Swanepoel, and what the driver trainers are witnessing is that the skills, in many cases, obviously they're going to be standouts where this is not an issue, but by and large, statistically, they are poorer drivers. I'm sure I'm offending a lot of Code 10 license holders out there, and I'm sorry. I mean, we have to say this is statistically, and the actuaries involved. We're not every single one of us cookie cutted to fit into that general principle. So it's not to say that you aren't hugely proficient, despite the fact that you didn't get a Code B license. But it's just an interesting I think because it's not really discussed, and you might not even be aware that this is a thing. I would certainly say that if you're a Code 10 driver and you or C1 as it's now called, and you haven't had that license for more than 5 years, and even if you have, if you look at Lindelwa's case, you might have the surcharge loaded on when you shouldn't, and certainly to have the discussion before you book and pay for the car, because it might, if you don't have any discounts coming from some loyalty program, you know that 100 Rand a day surcharge, especially if you're going to be hiring the car for some time, it might sway you to want to perhaps go to another company that doesn't charge that surcharge based on your license type.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Wendy, and some messages that are already starting to come through. One says, the people that have Code 10 licenses went for them because they were an easier option. They will try to tell you different, but they know the truth. There are certain tests not required for a Code 10 as opposed to a Code 8. Another one says, dodgy subcharge T's and C's aside, I have always been concerned about the Code 10 workaround. It is very problematic considering general South Africa. It may be anecdotal, but I find you can see it in how people drive and park. Those who didn't have to do the yard park in K52 struggle in the real world. That's from Mzamo. Another one, hi, Relebogile. Another point is that with Code 8, you are restricted as to which cars you can or cannot drive, while with a Code 10, you are not restricted. You can even drive a truck. The difference between Code B and C1 is side parking, but we have less than 8% drivers who master side parking. I have Code B, but I hardly or always avoid side parking at all costs. That's David and Centurion. Guys,
Parallel parking.
Yes, the parallel parking.
I was a motoring journalist as well as a tandem career to consumer for a period of 15 years until I just couldn't make the time for it. It was a love of mine. And I remember going to a certain car launch, a little car, and they will have little events for their launches. And this manufacturer set up a Code 53 for us as a kind of a fun event. And parallel parking was part of it, and you got timed how long you took and to get it right, kind of thing. And there were motoring journalists there who flatly said, "I don't do parallel parking."
Wow!
Motoring journalists, no, I don't. I'm not going to do it. And I've been with people in cars who, we need to park. We're going to a restaurant or whatever together, and they just refuse to do it. And I mean, it is quite a tricky skill to master, but it's essential. It's kind of like, can you maneuver this car accurately or not? I think it's a basic requirement for driving a normal passenger car around, so that you're safe and everyone else is safe and the car is safe from damage. I just think you can't. Okay, I'm going to get myself in trouble here, but I mean, I personally don't think you could call yourself a proficient driver if you cannot parallel park. It's just a skill that goes with driving. Parking is a big part of car ownership.
I know a lot of people who avoid parallel parking. I've had to party in Melville many a time when I was younger. You will learn how to parallel park in those tiny streets or your long streets of Cape Town. Absolutely wow. But I see more messages that are coming through. One says, Code 10 are extremely bad drivers. We were waiting in a long queue for 45 minutes because the lady couldn't clutch control the car that she bought. Seriously, she had a coat. Guys, what? Okay, we're going to do this when we come back from the news. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to share their experience. Are you a Code 10 driver, Code 8? And then also, are you a parallel parker? Do you do it one time? Like, do you remember the part where they say you reverse straight after being right next to the car that would be in front of you, and then at a certain point you turn your wheel all the way around, and then after, like, what? Okay, it's 2:30. Time for latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. A very good afternoon. We begin with breaking news from the Constitutional Court. The court has dismissed the urgent application by former President Jacob Zuma and the MK party today. The two took President Cyril Ramaphosa to the apex court, seeking to set aside his decision to place Police Minister Senzo Mchunu on special leave and to appoint an acting police minister. The court says the case by Zuma and his party fails to engage its exclusive jurisdiction. It says the full reasons for this decision will be provided at a later date. We stay in the apex court where Please Call Me inventor Nkosana Makate says he remains resilient despite a constitutional court setback in his long-running battle with Vodacom. Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga handed down a judgment today which set aside a Supreme Court ruling in Makate's favor and referred the matter back to be heard by a different panel. And some economists and industry leaders have called on the Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee to make a bold cut in rates. Governor Leseja Kganyago is set to announce the latest decision on the repo rate today. The MPC deliberated on rates during its bi-monthly meeting this week, with the announcement set for 3 this afternoon. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're traveling through Melrose, Sandton, heading towards Midrand, traffic is a bit sluggish on the M1 northbound. That's between Ethel, Oaklands and Marlborough Drive. Also traveling towards Bedford View. You can expect about a 20-minute delay. That's coming from the Boksburg area on the N12 westbound between Croft Road and the Gilulis interchange. This is due to an earlier accident, so avoid that route if you can. Also, faulty traffic lights. Slowing down traffic in the Randburg area at Malibongo Drive and Mahogany. We still have slow-moving traffic. That's in the Germiston area. Heading towards Bedford View, leaving Alberton N3 northbound, approaching the Geldenays interchange due to an earlier accident. If you come across any other traffic issues, please SMS us on 31702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
This past Sunday, Joburg walked the talk together. Thousands stepped up, stepped out, and stepped forward. And none of it would have been possible without the incredible partners who walked this journey with us.
We as Freedom Park are excited. The highlight for us is the coming together of the diversity of South Africans from all walks of life. There could not have been a better partner for this walk, and we are coming back as Freedom Park. Prime Media 702, we are here and we are taking this further, we are taking this forward, because this walk, it's also about a national dialogue. It's about getting South Africans talking and reflecting as they walk.
A heartfelt thank you to every sponsor who made this year's 702 Walk the Talk possible. You powered the spirit of a city walking as one. The 702 Walk the Talk was hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
Don't miss the remarkable, versatile and world-renowned Buscade Soweto String Ensemble at its annual performance, featuring a wide range of popular music favorites from classical to amapiano. These young musicians will be joined by South Africa's charismatic diva, Sibongile Mngoma, singing jazz, blues and rock songs. The concert takes place at the Linda Auditorium on Sunday, the 3rd of August at 3 p.m. Book now at Quicket.
Celebrate the horse racing season of champions with Hollywood Bets and saddle up for sensational success. Stand a chance to win a spectacular share of over 2 million rand in prizes, including a brand new Amoda C5 or C7. All you have to do is bet 50 rand or more on any horse racing event for a shot at your crowning moment. Take the reins and get ready to gallop to grand rewards. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. Hollywood Bets supports responsible gambling. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
So we did a thing. A full commitment kind of thing. We've partnered with Sixt to bring worldwide to your doorstep. So you see how that's a serious thing. Because that's what you deserve. We know you're the GOAT, so premium it is. Premium service, premium vehicles, premium you, premium us. Sani Sixt is all about adding extra to ordinary. Extra reach, extra countries, so you can be extra premium worldwide. Be the greatest of all time and rent Sony Sixt.
702 and Corporates That Care with Hirsch's are talking about Hirsch's involvement in the Claire Ellis Brown Preschool.
So the Claire Brown School is just the most beautiful little school. This wonderful teacher came through called Sandra McLaren. She said to me something which I don't know if I should have done, but I did, was come through and visit the school. And the school had a beautiful garden, and growing up in a flat, you didn't have a garden. These little kids that live in the area now have somewhere to go and play, which just seems so special. So I thought, how can we get involved with that? And one of the things I found out was they're looking at their books. Their rates were like through the roof, like 6,000 Rand a month in rates, which was just crazy. So after finding people to speak to at the city council and irritating them for months and months, we got the rate reduced to 100 Rand a year and backdated 10 years.
Wow.
And I thought, geez, we can make it a little bit of a difference here, which was awesome. Then we started fixing up the school and painting and putting new kitchens and finding food for the kids. And we've been doing that for over 20 years.
Hirsch's, proud to help grow bright futures, one child at a time. Learn more at hirsches.co.za. 702. Let's walk the talk.
Coming up
On 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive with John Perlman coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. John, how are you doing?
Doing well, thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon to you and to all the listeners.
So we have been chatting earlier about applying for jobs that you are not qualified for.
Yeah, I heard some of
that.
that.
Do you wait? Do you check that you're 100% qualified? And maybe our industry is not the right place. But if there was something that said 10 years experience, but you only had 5, would you still take a chance if you thought you were perfect for the job?
It depends on what phase of my life. So I spent a long chunk of my life underselling myself and being very, very tentative. And mixed in with that, which made it even worse, was watching people who I knew were really flying by the seat of their pants go and get these jobs or get the opportunities. It wasn't always necessarily a formal job, but it might be an opportunity to cover a particular story or take up a particular place within a larger job, if you know what I mean. So maybe we were all in the company, but there was a presenter job or whatever it might be. I've got better at that. So if it said 10 years experience, I probably wouldn't, say, well, I've got 5. But if they said, well, we're looking for somebody to do this, and it was going to be a real stretch for me, I have discovered rather a little late in my life that you should ask. I mean, all they can do is say no.
Especially now with how unemployment is. It's I call it spray and pray. You just send everywhere and you pray something comes through because it's so tough.
Yeah, it's terrible what people face. And I realize in my answer I'm not in that situation. So the risks for me are less.
What's coming up on your show today?
So, I mean, the Constitutional Court has been very busy today. The Please Call Me issue goes back to the Supreme Court of Appeal, but a lot of really interesting legal issues have come up in the course of that judgment. Professor Owen Dean is at the University of Stellenbosch. We'll chat to him after 5 o'clock. The Concord also has just ruled on the MK Party's application to overturn what President Cyril Ramaphosa has done in response to the General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi allegations. I'm not exactly sure what they're saying. They're saying you can't come directly to us, but I'm not sure whether they're saying what the next step should be. I don't believe this matter is dead. We'll get an interest rate decision after 3 o'clock. We'll bring that to you as soon as we have details on that. By the way, we'll cover that MK Party story, of course. And then back on the General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi issue, Parliament will be naming who's going to serve on the ad hoc committee that's doing their part of the inquiry work. And that's an important decision. Babalo Ndenze waiting for the names. As soon as he has the names, we will bring you the names and try and understand the significance of who's been chosen.
All right, that's 702 Drive with John Perlman coming up from 3 to 6 p.m.
702.
Nola knows.
20 minutes to 3 o'clock, we continue with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows, with Wendy Nola. Earlier on, she was sharing the scenario of this extra charge for Code 10 drivers, as in if you have a Code 10 license at a car rental, not all of them, you get charged 100 Rand a day. And they had given their reasons, and now many of you are giving feedback to say, well, it kind of makes sense. Some are saying Code 10 drivers are not the best drivers. Others are saying Code 8 drivers will always know more because they had to do more in their tests. And then also the idea that many people can't actually parallel park. What is the percentage? They're saying around 8%. 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. We're going to get some reaction and feedback, and then we'll move on to our next story. So we've got Timothy in Joburg. Hi, Timothy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
I'm all right.
Yes.
I just have a little bit to differ with the people who have been making this analysis and everything. Yes, it's good for them for money to put that extra 100 rand. But I can tell you, many people, for the reason of going for code 10, some of them, we do, like myself. When I did my code 10, it was because the job that I wanted to apply was they wanted a code 10. And the reason being, if you do a code 8, when you want to do code 10 or code 14, you must go back again and redo the whole process of the licensing. That's why many people will rather be in the middle, not somewhere at 8, and then now you can't drive a code 10. Because when you have a code 10, you can drive a code 8. And I can tell you, many people, when we learn driving at home, we don't use the code 10. We use the very same small car, which is a code 8. It's just that when you go for licensing, obviously they will have to use the code 10. So the only thing that will be different when you are doing your exam for the code 10 is this parallel parking. The rest is the same. If it comes to balancing, when people tell you that somebody with a code 10, they cannot balance, we are talking of new learners. Anybody with experience, you know how to do that. Many people, when they buy a car, nobody goes to the driving school and do a code 14 and then come back home and you go and buy a truck. There's no such thing. Everybody with code 14 and code 10, we still go and buy our code 8 cars, and then we become expert by driving and experience.
Thank you so much, Timothy, for sharing your experience there with us. We've got, is it Gerson or Gerson from Lombardy East?
Yeah, you're speaking to Gerson. Thank you, Relebogile, for taking my call. I have been an instructor since 1998. And I can tell you that, yes, with certainty that people that go out there to obtain a code 10 driver's license are not good drivers. I can tell you. They are not good drivers. Give me a chance. The driving experience that they get, it's along the road. After when they have obtained their driver's license, having to make few scratches and serious accidents here and there. It was in my era, and I'm also talking here as an official then of the driving school, whereby we did push the government. During that time, it was Spoon Ndebele who was a minister when they were supposed to introduce progression licensing, whereby you cannot be able to drive a code 10 if you don't have a code 8. And then we pushed that and politicize it, in such a way that no, because, majority of the drivers, the potential drivers that go for code 10 are blacks. That is why the GA is coming up with, and they heard that because, of course, the driving school industry is widespread. And we got, contact with all a manner of potential voters. The government paddled on that and then, did not introduce it. But I can tell you that was the best way of addressing the accident carnage you are facing in the country. Because why? Progression license was not going to allow you to obtain a code 10 unless you do have code 8 and you got a few years experience. Do you understand? And then also it was not going to allow you to drive code 10, code 8 if you got, a code 10 license. She's spot on, and I am still saying even today, remember, I differ seriously with my colleagues, but you see, when you are in the minority, always you take whatever majority ruled over you. But I'm still saying that this is the right way. There has to be progression licensing. Because why?
And also,
Many people-
Gerson, sorry to cut you there, just for the interest of time. The other thing, I was just chatting now to my colleague Wendy that the Code 10 is a cheaper license to get. So maybe it's not just about it being easier; it's also
okay.
cheaper.
Right.
So just a consideration
is Gerson with us?
there.
I wonder,
Gerson, is it cheaper? Is Code 10 cheaper?
It is cheaper to get because why? With Code 8, you're going to make sure that before a person goes for a test, it's thoroughly spot on. But in Code 10, if you teach him how to reverse and he goes into the polls, the rest is between him and the examiner as they go along. You will go and check back and fro, and you come back, you got the license. He cannot drive. I can tell you that over my experience, people that goes for Code 8 driver's license, I used to tell my client that you go and get your license, your car, and go to Cape Town or go to Polokwane or wherever. But those that take Code 10, they cannot park, they cannot, change accordingly, they cannot. But you see, what we used to do in my institution, we make sure that if you come and say, I want to do Code 10, we say, okay, why do you want to do Code 10? And you find majority, the reason is not to get the work, but just to be a driver and get. Then I said, okay, let's start with Code 8 so that we teach you how to drive. You must be able to operate every vehicle, 10 and 8, because that is what you're going to expose once you're on the road.
Gerson, thank you so much for that call. Interesting one. Oh, there is, there's a lot going on. I want to quickly look at the WhatsApps. One says, if you cannot parallel park in Switzerland, then don't even think about driving there. I have a Swiss driving license, so go figure. That is from Sim, back in South Africa, never leaving is what they say. Another one says, the other issue noted is that some drivers need 2 lanes to turn their little cars. They are the same people who do not parallel park. I can't tell what driver's license they have. Another person says,
that is one of that. I can tell you that is my number one pet hate, apart from people hogging the fast lane, is people who don't realize that you need to hug the pavement and turn nice and tight. You don't need to. The ones that actually turn right before they turn left to turn, I need someone to explain to me why they do that, because I can't cope with that.
Another one says, hi, Relebogile, Code 10 or 8. It's not the license driving, but the human that has the license. A license doesn't determine your driving behavior. I know Code 8 drivers that can't even park properly. So the notion of license codes drive differently is not true, in my opinion. Augusto in Pretoria. I don't agree, Augusto, because if all you've ever had to do is the basics to pass one test, and then you don't do certain other things, it isn't just about the human, unless you now have the experience and are super familiar with the other code. Hi, Relebogile, I'm a Code 10 driver, 44 years later, never been in an accident I've caused. Taxi slammed into my car, beating robot. So did a truck driver. My dad taught me to drive at a very young age. God bless his soul. High level. Please ask Wendy how insurance. Okay, I will come back to that after we go to a break. And another one says the biggest problem actually is people who buy driver's licenses. They can't drive at all. All right, we take a break. When we come back, we continue.
702 delivers
on the matters that matter to you.
My name is Olina, and what I love about 702 is the Clement Banyatela show. I didn't think that I would see Clement today.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts,
so we can deliver more on what matters to you.
702 listens.
Let's walk the talk.
to every 702 lander who laced up, showed up and walked the talk with us this past Sunday. Thank you. The 702 family loved every moment, walking, talking and connecting with you on the route. You made the 2025 702 Walk the Talk one for the books, and we can't wait to do it all again with you next year. Here's to 702 landers, and here's to the 2025 702 Walk the Talk, hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane.
Unfold extraordinary with the new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 512 gig. Get it on a 6 gig Red Core plan from 1749 per month over 36 months. Experience cinematic viewing, seamless multitasking, and next level productivity. Pre-order yours today from Vodacom, Mzansi's winning 5G network. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
Aquele. Aquele.
Aqueli.
Aquela.
Aquele.
Aquili.
Aquele.
No matter how you say it, one thing's for sure. Aquele is South Africa's most loved water brand, refreshing you with pure natural spring water and delicious flavored sparkling drinks. From every sip to every smile, thank you Mzansi for making Aquele a part of your everyday moments. Aquele, spreading joy to South Africa naturally.
Introducing Auto & General's Fire Assist benefit in partnership with Fidelity Secure Fire.
Hi, I'm Zamo Mkhunu. I'm a firefighter and I've faced over 1,000 fires. There's a lot of training. I mean, you get punished. You can save things, but really it's about saving lives. I'm a very committed fireman, and with this partnership, I'll be able to help more people.
We make sure you never face the flames alone. Follow our social media for more. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Choose Checkers, SA's #1 value for money supermarket, and save on Kellogg's Cornflakes 1 kg for $74.99. Jacob's Chronomore Gold Instant Coffee 200 or 230 grams, any two for 269 rand, and Pampers Jumbo Pack or Premium Care Value Pack nappies or pants for $249.99 per pack. Valid until this Sunday at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
702.
Nola knows.
8 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows, with Wendy Nola. 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. The question that had come through says, Lebo, please ask Wendy how insurance impacts foreign driver's license and how they view our local driver's codes. P.S. I'm a 52-year-old female code 10 driver. My parallel parking kicks behind. Do you have any idea, Wendy? I figured this might be something you'd have to ask about insurance and foreign driver's licenses.
It's not something that's ever come up for me. I'm sorry to disappoint the listener as well. I would have to do some research and then come back next week to give the answer on that one. I'm not sure. But I would say logic tells me, I mean, especially in Cape Town, a very high proportion of the people renting the car will be foreigners. And so they must accept foreign driver's license as car renters. I can't see there being a problem. Was there a specific case that our listener was querying? Is there a problem that I'm not aware of?
They're not mentioning, but maybe if you want to drop an email to Wendy Nola, you can give a call to the station. Our producer will give that mail if there's a specific situation with your foreign driver's license. But just to close off before we take a call, one is saying, I use the truck to learn. This is anonymous. And then I bought a Code B vehicle. I was so bad I had to leave home Soweto at 4 a.m. because the roads were empty. Arriving at work in 4 ways at 20 to 5. I was also slow and would leave the office at 8 p.m. hoping the roads were empty. I suffered but have healed and am a safer driver now. All right, we go to the lines. Rick.
I have to...
Yes?
Okay. I'm going to put my hand up. There's another issue that hasn't come up. I learned to drive in a little manual car, and I had a little second-hand Escort. I'm showing my age now. That I needed the license to drive, but my driving instructor said, take the license in our automatic car because it's easier. And those days, also you could get your license. You could take the test in an automatic car and still be licensed to drive they've changed that now. And I could drive a manual car, but I thought I'll make things easier for myself. So I get into the parallel parking, and I got in fine first time, no problem. But in a manual car, you take your foot off the brake, and the car is still. In an automatic, it carries on going. So I've hit the little pipe at the back, and I'll never forget my instructors regarding the test saying that could have been a Rolls Royce, and I failed because I was trying to be clever. So I throw that out there.
There you go. All right, this is going to be a super quick one. Rickson, you've got an issue where you took your car to a garage for a service. What happened?
Yes. I took a garage to one of the big garages in South Africa, big companies. 2 weeks later, I felt like there's another issue on the same car. So I fell out of love with that car. I immediately said that this car needs to be changed. So I took it back to them and I said, guys, you keep this car until I buy another one. It will, it's going to be used as a trade-in. They were excited about that, and I said, but I don't know when it will happen. They were cool with that. You will be surprised. They kept it some few years. After those few years, and they called me and they said, look, we want to move on. Can you take your car? And I said, no, I'm happy. And I said, how much I owe? This is the money that you owe. This is the work that we have done. The work is done. Okay, beautiful. We agreed that in May, this past May, I will come and collect my car.
Can you do me a favor, Rickson, because time is not great and I really want all of us to get an opportunity to hear your question. We're going to take your details. We'll make sure that we ring you first in the feature next week so everybody can listen to the story and to Wendy Nola's advice. Wendy Nola, back together next week.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Deal or no deal. It's late in the day that 30% levy on South African exports to the US comes into effect tomorrow. We don't have a deal, do we, Minister?
No, we don't. They are unable to confirm what the announcement would be, and they would encourage us to raise up possibly an enhanced proposal to the United States government. It would be processed by the White House, but at this point they are unable to say what the final decision would be.
Minister Parkstow.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Your workday calls for more capability, more grit, more getting it done. Your weekends demand more freedom, more pushing the boundaries. And the new GWMP 300 LS Bucky is where it all comes together. Bring it on in the new GWMP 300 LS from only 529,900 Rand. Visit gwm.coza or your nearest dealer to book a test drive. GWM, go with more.
Are you ready? What a question. It seems insane that suddenly you're supposed to know all the answers overnight. When to settle down, what cover you need, how to invest, why you should bother. So, if you're unsure, unsteady, and unstoppable, chat to a Liberty accredited financial advisor to take your first step today. Unready, set, go. Liberty. In it with you. All of you. Liberty Group Limited, a licensed life insurer and authorized FSP and part of the Standard Bank Group. Terms and conditions, risks and limitations apply.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Thank you so much for joining us on 702 Afternoons. We are back tomorrow. Don't forget primemediaplus.com or download the app to catch up on the different conversations as well. Shows email 702afternoons@702.co.za. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
The Concourt dismisses MK Party application against President Cyril Ramaphosa and the Reserve Bank to announce the repo rate adjustments today. Good afternoon. I'm Bali.